It's one of my favorite things about meetings like this is you get to see folks from across the state. You don't always get to see every day, which is nice. All right, it is 7:03, so I think we will kind of get the ball rolling tonight. So for those of you who haven't had a chance to meet yet, my name is Caroline Bright, Reverend Caroline Bright, and I have the privilege of being the consulting minister for UUJusticePA during this transition time. So we are going to open this meeting with some words of wisdom from Reverend Erica Hewitt, who is awesome. And when I was looking for just the right thing for this, it was interesting. This is actually a piece I think that she wrote for Christmas time. And yet here we are in June, and it feels appropriate for this moment. So it's called First Comes the Waiting. And it goes, "This is the season of endings and beginnings, when the small signs of dawn pierce through the night and something new is born. But first comes the waiting. First come the lessons of endings and beginnings. The presence of life, the sheltering spirit of love, grieves with those sweeping up the debris of loss, waits with those who restlessly reach out for change, grants us courage in the night to guard each other's dreams for this holy, wondrous universe. Grant us, O universe unfolding in mystery, a sense of your timing. May we loosen our grip on that which doesn't serve us, leaving behind that which we have outworn and outgrown. Teach us the lessons of beginnings. Remind us that such waitings and endings may be a starting place, a planting of seeds which bring to birth what is ready to be born, something right and just and different, a new song, a deeper relationship, a fuller love in the fullness of time." So, some of you might be wondering, what the heck is a consulting minister and why do we have one here at UUJusticePA as we kind of get things underway? The short answer is I came on board back in March. I stepped off of the UUJusticePA board and came on as a consultant to help iron out some of the logistics around staffing and things like board covenant and just some kind of behind the scenes work that needed to happen. And now as we're going through this transition, I'm staying on in a consulting role. I am not the interim director. I am not the director. I will not be the director. When there's a search for the director, I will not be applying to be the director. I have no interest in being the director or taking on any other role other than that of a consultant with UUJusticePA, in no small part because I'm from Vermont and my family is moving to Vermont in 2 weeks. So that is why I am in this role very specifically. So that's kind of the capacity that I'm here, is to help facilitate a lot of the transition that's happening and things that are going on. And I just want to make sure that we have a chance, we'll all introduce ourselves because I think that's helpful. And so that's me, and I'm going to call on Arly to go next. If you don't know Arly.
I had a suspicion I was going to be picked on next. I'm Arly, pronouns she, her. I'm from the Unitarian Church of Harrisburg, and I am the legislative associate at UUJusticePA. So I interface with a lot of our partner organizations. I talk to legislators and staffers. I do support work for justice teams. I do research. Whatever you guys need related to legislation, I'm here to help you out. So that's me. Is there someone you want me to popcorn to, Caroline? Nope, just okay. Dee, you are next on my screen.
All right. Hi, I'm Dee Castile. I'm a board member for UUJusticePA, but I'm a relatively new board member. So I'm sort of, in some ways, still learning the ropes. I'm a member of the UUCSV here in the Susquehanna Valley, recently retired professor of chemistry, and really glad to be part of this group and keep us moving forward.
Let me go next. My name is Bill Clinton, and I'm the president of UUJusticePA, and I am a member of UU Delaware County, just west of Philadelphia. Judy, why don't you go next?
Okay, my name is Judy Wilson, and I'm from Mainline Unitarian Church in Devon, and I'm on the Reproductive Justice team. And I'll call on Liz.
I'm Liz Perkins. I'm out here in Pittsburgh. Judy and I started the reproductive justice team back in 2012, and that was a long time ago. And I am currently at the UU Church of the North Hills of Pittsburgh, but in 2 weeks I'm moving to Massachusetts and probably join the church in Brewster, Mass.
Who's next, Liz?
Steve Snell.
Steve, you're muted. Thank
That
you.
sounds better, huh? Yeah, Steve Snell. I'm with the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of York, and I am co-chair of the Good Government team.
Wonderful. Who's next, Steve?
Donna.
Okay, I'm Donna, she, her pronouns. I am from the UU Congregation of York, and I'm a member of the board as well as I sit on the reproductive justice team. And I'll send it to Tim.
Sure. Tim Steyer. I'm the current treasurer for UUJusticePA, and I've been a member of UUJusticePA going back to the days of UU Plan since the very beginning. My home church is UU of Mount Airy in Philadelphia. And I'll pass it to, let's see, Carol.
Okay, thanks, Tim. I'm Carol Balance. Like Liz, I'm a member of the UU Church of the North Hills in suburban North Pittsburgh. And I have been on I am the newest board member, and I was on gun violence prevention for a very long time, but I now have a serious conflict in my schedule where I can't do that. And I will go next to Patjrdn. Unmute, please.
You're still muted, Pat.
Is it
There you
now?
go.
You're good.
Okay. Yeah, the little red line didn't go away at first. Anyway, I'm Patjrdn. I'm a member of Mainline Unitarian in Devon, Pennsylvania, and I've been doing liaison work probably for like 4 years now, maybe even a little more than that. We've done a lot of postcarding. I do a lot of posting all the messages that I can that I receive from UU Justice PA on our newsletter. We don't really have a bulletin board per se, but I am as active as I can be. My husband's been pretty sick with long COVID for a while. So now and again, there may be a little blip, but my heart is always with this group. I think you do a great job.
Who's next, Pat?
And I'm going to say Jeannie Zhang.
Okay, yeah, I'm Jeannie Zhang. I'm the UU Justice PA liaison at the UU Church of the South Hills in Pittsburgh, also known as Sunny Hill. I think I've been doing this for about 2.5 years.
Who's next, Jeannie?
And let's see, how about Mary and Steve?
Take it away, Steve.
I'm not the liaison.
This is for everybody. Go ahead.
Well, I've been on the gun violence protection program and been quite active with that.
And we're from the Erie UU, in Erie up in the corner. And I'm on the, we're both on the social justice committee. And the team that I go to the meetings are the criminal justice, racial justice team.
Great. So who's next? Who do you want to pick?
See, all of the, I'm looking at the rows.
Yeah, so
Let
let me
Marty's?
Pick Rick.
Hi, I'm Barter Sleeper, and I'm a member of UU of Delaware County, and I have been on the economic justice team for about 15 years, maybe. I met Tim Steyer doing work for raising the minimum wage, and I really care a lot about education, and I care a lot about healthcare, and I am horrified at the fact that right now maybe 10 million people are going to lose their health care with the current big beautiful bill. That may not be Pennsylvania, but it will affect Pennsylvania because we'll be coming to our legislature to ask them to preserve health care for Pennsylvanians, and that will cost us money. I'm going to call on Tara Stephenson.
Hi, sorry I was late. Instead, there was another meeting was going on, and I had to sweat. I did something. I don't know what happened. I'm Tara Stephenson. I'm a member of the Lehigh Valley Church, which is currently in rented space in Allentown. I'm not real crazy about that, but it makes life very difficult when you don't have your own space. But it is what it is, and we're hanging in there. We're doing okay. I've been a member of Economic Justice for like 10 years, I think. I was the lead for an Organizing for Action group after Obama's election for a couple of years, and then that dissolved, and I was looking for another place to put my social justice work energies, and I landed here. Good. And economic justice just calls to me from the very beginning, has always called to me, because money is the root of everything. Money and the lack of it is the root of everything. And what this country does to poor people is absolutely horrifying. Horrifying. They're second-class citizens all the way.
So Tara, who's next?
What? I don't know who hasn't gone.
All right. How about
if
Greg
people
Blackman?
Like okay. If you say so.
Thank you.
I'm at the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Erie, and I'm a little disheveled right now, but here I am. I'm on the Social Justice Committee with emphasis on environmental justice, particularly in the Erie area.
Great. How about Joan Pelk?
Yeah.
Joan.
Hi, Joan Pelk. I'm from Unitarian Universalist of Delaware County, along with Bill and Mortis. And I'm kind of in a lot, little jack of all trades. I'm interested in social justice, education, gun violence, and UU the vote and good government.
Thank you. How about Leslie McGeorge?
Hi, I'm Leslie McGeorge. I'm with a bi-state church, half Pennsylvania, half New Jersey, Unitarian Universalist Church of Washington Crossing. And I'm the liaison to that church, and I'm a longtime member of the environmental justice team also occasionally, and I'm very interested in the good government work as well.
Wonderful. Cheryl Parsons?
Hi, everyone. I'm Cheryl Parsons from Carlisle. The church that I go to is the Unitarian Universalist of the Cumberland Valley in Boiling Springs. I'm the social justice chair and the liaison for our congregation. When I can make it, I go to the economic justice committee meeting. I'm mostly interested in education as I'm a retired school teacher. I live close enough to the Capitol that I do go when there are actions at the Capitol whenever I can, and I post things as much as I can do. So, thank you.
How about David Jenks? You're still muted, David. You're still muted.
Oh, there we go. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, hi, I'm David Jenks. I'm with the Unitarian Fellowship in Center County. I'm kind of new to this, but I'm interested in LGBTQ rights. That's about it.
Wonderful. Connie Camarano?
Hi, I'm from UU Berks in Reading. I just started attending there just a few months ago, actually, and just started attending some of the justice meetings for the environmental justice group.
Wonderful, wonderful. How about Carol Orts? Hi, Carol.
Hi there. I've been around a long time. My husband died 10 years ago, and before that, we used to go over and do a lot of the lobbying over with Joan Sabatino. But now I'm up in years. I'm with the UU Berks church. I'm up in years, so I don't get to do the road trips anymore. But I am, constantly trying to make sure our congregation knows some of what's going on. And also I try to support as I can.
Great. Lily?
Hi, Lily Joya from the Unitarian Congregation of Wyoming Valley. I've been on the Reproductive Justice Task Force for many years. I can't even remember how many years. I'm on the Social Action Committee, and I'm also legislation chair for the National Federation of Business and Professional Women Pennsylvania affiliate. And we've been doing women's rights for 100 years.
Good. Very good. I think I've touched everybody, except for the person that's registered as UUJusticePA.
That's my other device, Bill.
Okay, good.
Yeah, exactly.
Caroline, it's back to you.
Woohoo! So we're going to get started with an organizational update, just so that everyone kind of knows what's going on, because not necessarily everybody does. On May 19th, our acting director, Clara Jenkins, submitted her resignation, and she has now moved on from this role. And we are really grateful to her for the time and energy that she put in to this process. And as a result of this transition, especially for those of you who are coming to this meeting maybe for the first or second time, and you're like, whoa, I didn't know this was excitement. This is an exciting time to get involved. And before we kind of dive fully into the program update piece, I want to make sure that we're speaking directly and compassionately about that leadership change, because it does mean that we're entering a new chapter. And I want to be so clear that we're really grateful for everything that Clara brought to the organization, especially during such a complicated year. Someone mentioned Reverend Joan Sabatino, who was our director of UUJusticePA for 5 years. Many, many of you knew her and knew her well. For those of you who are newer, she passed away fairly quickly. She was diagnosed with cancer and passed away quickly last fall. And it was an incredibly hard time and just really difficult for the organization and for those of us who knew Joan. So transitions like that obviously can bring uncertainty. And transitions like this one, where we have an open director position, can bring uncertainty as well. But at the same time, it can also create space for clarity, for healing, and for rebuilding. So I've stepped in with Arly, who is the other staffer. Well, technically our only staffer, because I'm just a contract employee. Our incredibly competent, very skilled legislative associate, to kind of stabilize things and just again work on those back end pieces, boring things like paperwork. And we're just going to stabilize that during the summer. So we also aren't doing this alone. Our board is very active. You heard from Tim and Carol and Donna and Dee and Bill. And we have a very active working board, and Tim especially is handling the financial piece. And good news, he's already had numerous applicants for the part-time financial administrative role, which I was delighted to hear. I'm also delighted.
One more.
Oh, what? Amazing.
No, 2 more. I'm sorry. 2 more today.
Okay. We are popular, y'all. This is great. So So all of this is to say there are a lot of people who are chipping in to make sure that nobody's stretched too thin, that this is a summer where we are able to rebuild and get things organized so that we can really be the voice for Unitarian Universalists in Harrisburg, especially. So we want to make sure as an organization that we are modeling transparency without gossip, accountability without harm. And that means that you are going to keep getting open and honest updates. So that's going to happen tonight. It's going to happen in other all calls. I'm also going to be sharing a link in the chat that I will then also email out, but it's a link where you can sign up for a specific transition update mailing list. And Arly and I have a plan to send out regular transition updates because I know there are so many questions in a moment like this where people are wondering what's going on, they want more information. We're going to send you updates, even if the update is Tim's still interviewing admins. He's very picky, that Tim. Even if that's the update, we're going to keep you updated and in the loop. So tell your friends, spread the link around, have people sign up for these updates. We don't want to inundate people who don't want extra emails, but if you are curious about this transition, please, please, please sign up for these emails. We will be updating you with the same information that we're discussing with the board, the same information we're discussing internally. We want to make sure that it is as transparent as possible. And speaking of transparency and speaking of the work that's actually happening, hey, Arly, are you ready to give us a programming update?
Sure. Yeah, so just an update on what's been cooking and what's coming up. We have been partaking in a lot of organization around Medicaid, and we are planning to ramp that up. At the start of this year, our plan was to kind of go full speed ahead on transportation, and we have been doing that. But what I've been hearing again and again and again is that that funding is entirely dependent on Medicaid. So we are shifting a little bit to try to make sure that we are ensuring that we get that really essential funding into PA. And so you're going to be hearing a lot more about that. There's going to be opportunities for everyone to postcard, and I'll be reaching out to people in key districts to talk about how we can kind of get involved, get our neighbors involved in protecting this vital piece, not just of our nation, but of Pennsylvania. So that's a really big part. There's also it's kind of the season of advocacy days now that for a while the Senate and House are both going to be in session. We had one today for contraceptives for all, and then tomorrow you might remember an email being sent out. There is the solidarity against solitary. There's going to be another one on the 14th. But I haven't been given a link yet. So as soon as I get a link for that for people to sign up, I will be sending that out to everyone. And then also, we've been working on making sure that we are staying up to date with our partners, drafting letters of support for important pieces of legislation to show that there is faith-based organizations supporting these really important pieces of legislation, especially in spaces that are supporting LGBTQ people and reproductive values, as they may be called. In addition, I've been working with some of our partners to draft legislation around publicly funded campaign and really working on building coalition around democracy, reproductive justice, economic justice, and more. And kind of going towards what we will be looking for in the future, we are really going to be looking on to build capacity, build leadership, and build opportunities for you all to really feel empowered and able to organize, to see change in Pennsylvania and get involved, whether you want to be doing research, whether you want to be leading a team, however that looks for you. And so to that extent, I will be tabling at GA because it is in Baltimore this year. So I'm hoping a lot of Pennsylvanians will be coming. And I know I will also be speaking at the York Church on July 13th, I believe. And so hoping to kind of get more close contact with congregations across the state. So if you are interested, please reach out and I would be happy to connect with you and your congregation. So those are some of the big ticket items. Another one is that we are planning to hire 2 interns, which is very big. Woo! Yes, we've got 2 grants. And so one of those interns is going to be targeted at creating programs that encourage voter participation, not just in UU congregations, which is also very important, but also in disenfranchised communities where often votes people are tempted to be silenced, and we want to know those people. So that's going to be happening. The other intern will be focused on social justice related things. Yeah, that's my update. So if you have any questions regarding that, I think there's going to be a question portion at the end. I would be happy to answer that then, or I will drop my email in chat if you'd like to connect that way as well.
As you can see, we are very lucky to have Arly. And now the moment we've all been waiting for, Tim Steyer. Talk about money and admin. What you got?
Yeah. One of the things I think about is when I first came on as treasurer 5 years ago. Yeah, 5. We had a budget of about $60,000. And that was before Reverend Joan came on, right? Our budget this year is about 100. When you consider the carryover from last year, we're about close to 130,000. And we just, any day now, I should say, right? We're getting another $35,000 from a grant from the William Penn Foundation. So I watch over the money and give these reports. I'm always looking at, cash, and I'm looking at, we have a really good accounting firm, Miller Dixon Drake, out in Harrisburg, and they compile all the reports every month and so forth. This is stuff that's really it's worse than eating sand sometimes, but I'm a geek for this kind of stuff. But what I want to tell you is that right now, if I did a back of napkin, which I do just about 2-3 times a week, we have enough money to operate for the next 7 months. But the other good thing, and that's excluding the $35,000, right? But the other good thing is that we only got about a third of the total money that we have budgeted coming in. I was sharing with Caroline and Bill earlier. Summer is typically slow. We don't get as much from the congregations. Even we found out Harrisburg is doing virtual because they're doing some renovation and some churches close up. So we're going to make a push. And then there's some other foundations that we typically get money from. So we're in good shape. We got money in the bank. The other thing that you all may not know is that we are also the fiscal sponsor for QSAN. And that is all the state advocacy network across the country. And so we manage their funds, and we all share in this information gathering software called Every Action. That's very expensive, but it does a good job. That's the stuff that helps get all the information out to people. And I had a meeting with Peggy Sherman, who's the head of QSAN, just last week. And just to reassure her that with the operational change that we're still going to do what we do, and we're managing their money for them. So we're in good shape. I don't anticipate any hiccups. I just get a little worried. This is me. Over the summer, things go down a little bit. And I also wanted to mention, Arly mentioned that we will be hiring an intern for this William Penn Foundation grant. Now, this is the first time in the organization's history that we got a grant from a foundation, right? And, I have to tell you, this is a really great opportunity in so many ways. First of all, we applied for $26,000. They turned around and gave us $35,000. Arly and I had a meeting with one of the people who manage the grants, and they are really dedicated to supporting us in so many ways. They want to give us technical assistance. Yesterday, I couldn't make it. They had a 4-hour training session. I did 2.5. I couldn't do the 4, right? But I did get all the material. But it was really good stuff that is good for nonprofits. I say all that to say the bottom line it is that we are really, really fortunate to have them now as our partner. And the grant is right in line with our mission. And, it's basically to do voter education, with youth across the state and doing outreach to communities and people between the ages of 18 and 29 that people of color and people family incomes less than $50,000, right? And so we have a plan. I'm working with Arly and Caroline. We're going to get this done. We're going to be letting you know we need an intern. And last but not least, I can't do a lot of the stuff that Carolyn did, like handling accounts payable and accounts receivable. So what we did is put out an ad for at least 10-hour-a-week admin, financial person, bookkeeper, real simple stuff. I got you set up. Whoever is interested is easy peasy, right? Accounts payable, accounts receivable, putting them in the QuickBooks, talking to the accountants, and let me pester you twice a week, and we'll make it. So what I'll do, I'll put it in the chat, the advertisement, and if anyone's interested, I got 6. I'd like to go a little bit more. We'll see. That's my report.
Nice and light, right, Tim?
Yeah, I know, right? It's like having root canal or something.
Exactly. So speaking of Kusan, I'm glad you brought that up. Arly, what do you have to say about our relationship with the larger organization of UU State Action Networks?
I think we're in a good place. So that's part of the overall project of going to GA is there's going to be a larger Kusans meeting, and you better believe Pennsylvania will be representing in Baltimore. So I'm very excited to have that connection, and I know we have been kind of connecting more with some of our nearby organizations, especially as we're looking at kind of some issues that intimately affect PA, but also reach outside of PA. So excited to have those connections.
Awesome. And the update on the executive director search is that the board has set a goal of beginning that search by September 1st, if not before. My goal is to make it before. My goal is to get all of the paperwork organized, all the T's crossed, the I's dotted, everything underway, and we'll be able to start that search in probably late summer is my goal, but September 1st would also be good. So the board has that well in hand as well, which is fantastic. So I just wanted to make sure we had time to answer some questions that I'm sure people have questions. So there are a couple of things. One, feel free to put it in the chat. That's totally fine. If you're like, I would rather organize my thoughts in writing, you can put it in the chat, and we can answer that. You can also, if you raise your digital hand, that will move you to the top of the queue. So we'll know to call on you next. That would be helpful. And as always, during a question time, I like to keep in mind the ancient UU proverb, a comment than a question. And I ask that we keep that in mind. It's a joke. It's a joke. It's that it, often UUs in meetings will say this is more of a comment than a question. I saw some confused expressions there. But that we keep it to questions rather than extended comments. So just to see, all right, do folks have questions? If you go ahead and raise your digital hand. I won't believe it for a second if nobody asks a question. Okay, Mary, unmute and ask away.
wondering what parts of the previous director and the previous assistant, or whatever Claire was called, what are the things that what skills would they have that we want to make sure that we find? All the good stuff that they did. What are the key things that we're looking for the next director?
That's a great question. And that's honestly the top #1 priority is creating that job description. Because Joan Sabatino was in the role for such a long time and transformed the organization. And then Clara brought a really different perspective, which was very helpful. She was one of the driving forces behind the grants mentioned that we received, which is so appreciated. So, I think it's just kind of these practical things. For my opinion, I think that we're looking for someone who really centers UU values, who is ready to be a strong voice along with Arly in Harrisburg, who is ready to work kind of on a team and just really work with the infrastructure that we're going to set up for them. So basically, in a t-ball game where you've got the stand and you put the ball on top of the t-ball, and a little 3-year-old comes up. We're building the tee and the ball right now, and we're going to hand somebody the bat pretty soon. Liz.
I was interested in how long are the interns going to be there, and could Arly say more about the social justice intern?
Of course. So the social justice intern will be here for the summer. And the intern, I believe Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, we're still discussing if it's going to be split 1 or 2 interns for the same project. That's going to be for Get Out the Vote. So that's closer to, excuse me?
20 months.
Right. So that's the whole grant extends for 20 months. And so the idea is to run a program across a couple different congregations to try to reach the targeted populations. And so it kind of depends on which internship there. Oh no. Is she still here? It looked like she froze. Okay.
She's there. I see her.
Okay, good. Okay, so yeah, so with the social justice intern, that will be coming, that grant was from UUSJ actually. And so we are looking for essentially someone, probably a young person, ideally a UU who is interested in learning more about the process of getting legislation passed in Pennsylvania, monitoring legislation and helping to potentially create content or organize around the legislation that we are trying to prioritize. That specific internship is cool because we are able to tailor it to the applicants we get. And so I think a lot of it is going to be based on who's interested and what skill set they bring to the table, and how we can kind of interface that with our goals. And so there's a potential that they might have a specific project they're going to be working on, or it could be much more of a developmental position as well.
Awesome. Leslie, you had your hand up.
I'm sorry, my internet connection is unstable, so I lost you for a little bit. I wanted to ask Arly, first of all, thank you very much for having this meeting and explaining the things you have. I appreciate it. And I wanted to ask Arly about a question about environmental justice team. We have been doing some work on regional greenhouse gas initiatives and clean energy things. And I'm just wondering, is there anything going on from your perspective in the state? I know they had some hearings on the press and pacer legislation, which relates to renewable energy. And is there anything we can do to encourage that? I know at the national level, the so-called Big Beautiful Bill is cutting nationally a tremendous number of the clean energy credits, really pushing back all the work that had been done in the previous administration to do something about greenhouse gases, and also will impact jobs across Pennsylvania out of the clean energy incentives. So just wondered if there's anything that we could be doing in those areas.
Good question. So regarding those kind of greenhouse gas related legislation, basically we're at a similar place that we've been before. I suspect that, as has kind of happened in the past, Pacer and Press are going to pass the House into the Senate, where they will likely get stuck. For folks who don't know, the chair of the Senate Environmental Health Natural Resources Committee is also employed as a attorney for for gas and oil industry companies. So there seems to be a conflict of interest there, if I may be so bold, and that has shown itself in what legislation he is and is not willing to run through that committee. So that is a big barrier when we are looking especially at anything that is targeting greenhouse gases. I know we've already done postcarding specifically regarding Pacer, Press, and Reggie. And to that, luckily, none of that legislation that was looking to abrogate or completely abolish Reggie that passed through the Senate has gone anywhere in the House. So I'm thinking we'll probably kind of stay steady with that. So first of all, good work, everyone who postcarded, who wrote to your legislator, who wrote to that committee, because I think our voices are being heard on that account. I do have hesitations about the Senate. One thing that I think we could try to see where it goes is we've talked about the lightning plan in our Environmental Justice Committee, and so that is trying to approach, excuse me, oh my goodness, I'm getting all choked up talking about this stuff.
We know you feel strongly and you're very moved by it, Arly.
No, I don't know what's happening.
You're just overwhelmed by emotion, enthusiasm for the cause.
There you go. Yes, so the lightning plan is trying to address energy production and use in Pennsylvania from kind of a different tack than what we've seen before. So we're still going to see Press and Pacer run through, but there's a lot of pieces of legislation that handle everything from trying to make sure that things that are wasting energy for no reason are off the market to encouraging growth in renewable energy sectors. So I'm hopeful that some of those, especially ones that don't seem like such a threat to greenhouse gases, will get through the Senate. So I hope that answers the question. I know that was long-winded.
And I just have one real quick thing to say additionally. Nationally, UUs have connected. There's a big group of UUs in Citizens Climate Lobby, and there's a connection between our values and Citizens Climate Lobby. They're really pushing to get the Republican senators to vote against cutting these clean energy credits at the federal level. So we have a Republican senator. And there are actions that maybe, if you're interested, Arly, I could send you something just to let people know about that. I mean, if that fits, it's a state action for a federal.
That would be great. Yeah, definitely send that over. And the one thing I forgot to mention as well, which I think is relevant to this, talking about the federal tax credits, is what we've seen success in before is the Solar for Schools program, which is something that we also postcarded for last year. And the reason why I think we saw more success in that is that it was taking advantage of federal dollars that were on the table and making sure that we were able to funnel that into PA. So I do think that's a successful method of trying to get these things across. And we are also hopeful that we will see similar success with Solar for All, which is also a piece of legislation that's being run through. So we can talk more about that legislation as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I just love how knowledgeable everybody is. All right, Judy.
I'm wondering if we can do anything about our senators. I'm concerned about Fetterman, who's openly admitting he's bored with the job and doesn't want to do anything. And right now, everything's so close. We need a good senator. And the other senator, well, I don't know what he's doing either, but it just seems to me that we all, as Pennsylvanians, we ought to be demanding more from our senators. And particularly, I don't know if the Dems are doing anything to help Fetterman get help or get rid of him. If he can resign because he's ill, I don't know. I just think that we need a good senator. If ever we needed one, we need it now. And if he did resign because of illness, would that mean the governor can appoint somebody? I don't know what the process is. No, or do we have to wait till his term?
I believe the process would it would trigger a special election.
But would there be an appointment until a special election? I'm not sure.
I don't know the specifics. I know on the state level, there is not a process for appointing people as in interim until special elections. Usually what happens is there's just one seat less. So I would guess that it's the same on the federal level. I'm a little less well versed in all the rules of the federal legislature. Yeah, I think that's a good concern to bring up, and we're definitely looking at contacting kind of our federal representatives from PA a lot more going forward, especially as we're talking about some of these issues like Medicaid. Regarding his health, I don't know. I will say based on how Dems have kind of reacted to similar situations in the past, I would be very surprised if he was pushed out. Typically, if you have someone who is in power for a party seat, they kind of want to keep it that way. So I think right now our best method is to really raise our voices to those folks. We have seen a shocking amount of success, I think, just from people showing up to town halls, people really who have never called their federal legislators before, calling and telling them exactly what they need to see from those legislators. And I think people are really feeling the heat at this moment in time.
But Fetterman's not showing up. I mean, he's not doing town halls.
Yeah.
He's admitting that he doesn't want, that he's not shown up for a lot of votes either. And I think that I don't know who we raise our voices to. And I'm wondering if the Democrats in Pennsylvania or people in Pennsylvania can appeal to Shapiro and say, look, we need more. We need a senator who's willing to do his job.
I wonder,
and either get on his back or do something. Yeah.
I was say, Judy, I wonder about no. This is. I wonder about a letter to Josh Shapiro, to like a letter that goes out to all of these officials with exactly that demand. I think that's very reasonable. That makes sense. Pat, I have a question. Is this about this topic or is this a separate question? Yes, Pat.
No, it's about this topic.
Same thing. Martis, is this about this topic or is this about a different? Okay, we're going to come to you next, Martis. Pat, quickly, what you got?
Okay, it is that I've called his office and I've sent him an email. And in the email, they give you a list of things that you can be writing about. Didn't even include the environment. And he responded on with an email on a totally different topic. Is there anything that can be done there, Jaman?
Well, that's poor staff work is what that is, frankly. So there are a number of, I think this would be a cool special project to work on this summer, actually. Maybe later this month to demand this. I want to come back to this because I don't want to skip it because this is good, but I also want to make sure that Martis and Lily get to ask their questions. So we're going to come back to this. Martis, sorry.
Yeah. So my question is that currently the House has passed a bill that is limiting the amount of funding that cyber charter schools can spend. And if it is passed by the Senate, it will really save the Commonwealth a lot of money. And I'm wondering if we are going to do any postcarding or any push to write to our state senators and to encourage them to support I forget the number of the bill, but it is to rein in the wasteful spending of cyber charter schools. So do you know, Arly, if we're going to do any action to get the state Senate to pass this bill as well?
I think we absolutely could. And that's a great thing to focus on in the economic justice team. I know we've focused on public funding education in the past. And I think what we see is that pressure is felt, and how it comes out is usually through the budget, not through legislation. But what works, and we got that win last year. So I'm really hoping we can have the same results this year. As always, the House is leaning more towards public education funding, and the Senate is more vouchers and less oversight on cyber charter schools. So that is the dichotomy, but I think that's a great thing to focus on in terms of further action.
Awesome. Lily.
I have to go to our social action committee meeting in about 5 minutes, but I did want to mention that, the Unitarians were involved with the establishment of the Interfaith Alliance years ago. And they have, on June 10th, they are joining with religious groups from across the country, with Sojourners and Jim Wallace on June 10th as a meeting of Pentecost. And they expect hundreds of clergy, robed clergy, church choirs. They're going to be on the Capitol steps in the morning, reading all the scripture verses about care for the poor and the stranger. And then they intend to go and lobby against the big beastly bill. And so I hope our clergy and congregations in across the Commonwealth know that this is available, and they are definitely looking to get as many people on the Capitol steps to talk about the budget being a moral statement and that this budget is immoral. So I just want to pitch that out there in case anybody doesn't know about this. And I just think it's going to be wonderful.
Lily, do you have the details that you could send me?
Actually, I saw it on the podcast from the Interfaith Alliance. It'll probably be, if you go to Sojourners or the Interfaith Alliance, they're organizing all the different faith groups, but they want the ministers there in their collars and shawls and whatever they have to speak to them on morality grounds. And I just think it's a perfect timing to do this in the Senate, which is what they're planning to do.
I agree. I'm going to look that up and see if we can amplify.
Checking my calendar right now, Lily. Thank you.
Yeah. Speaking of ministers.
I know. I'm like, wait. That is awesome. That is, as we get more details, we will put information out about that. Thank you, Lily. All right, Connie.
Hi, I'm just wondering, with the environmental justice group, I know there's currently no leader. So I just kind of wondered what is going to happen with that, if it's just going to continue to not meet until there is a leader, or what the next step is going to be.
That is a great question, and that reminds me, I think I skipped over a kind of important update. So we are still looking for an environmental justice leader, but in light of kind of reduced staff capacity and also a tradition of taking things a little easy in the summer, things are slowed down, we are taking a break from justice teams from kind of a staff role. And so I think justice teams, if leaders have something that they want to organize and still have meetings, that is perfectly fine. We will still open up the Zoom room, but I also think this is a really great time for us to revitalize. That's a theme for a lot of what we're looking at, is to really build infrastructure and revitalize. So our plan is, with a lot of our justice teams, to either find leaders or get with our leaders and get with other participants just to really iron out how folks who are excited about these issues see their connection with that advocacy, and really kind of pave that way for when we need to really jump into action after the summer.
So are you saying, like, Thursday there is no environmental justice meeting? I just don't know. Sorry.
Yes, yeah. So and I can send out an announcement just so everyone's clear. But so Thursday we're planning. Caroline, correct me. What are the months that are technically the summer months?
So June and July and possibly August. And if you are on a team that is scheduled to meet in June and that's already been published, your meeting in June is happening. Yay!
For instance, I know the economic justice team will be.
Exactly. And if your team leader is like, absolutely, we're meeting in July and August, nice try, sneaky people taking away my meeting, we will set that up. We will open up that Zoom room. But just because of the kind of, we only have Arly for so many hours a month and so many hours a week. So we're just trying to focus those hours when things are slower in the summer on these other pieces. there will be an email coming out about it, but we didn't want to like send that email out without discussing it on the all call first. We didn't really surprise. So we wanted to just give folks the heads up on the call.
Yeah. And part of that, like we were talking about, is we really want to spend intentional time imagining, how these teams are going to be most effective, and talking with our volunteers and the people who are at the heart of those teams to make sure that the support is exactly what it needs to be, and people have the energy to go into that.
Could we just have the meeting in June and then not for the next couple months, just to have that conversation on Thursday?
Sure, we can do a last hurrah meeting on Thursday.
Thank you.
All right, bye, Dee.
All right, anybody else with questions? Looks like Jeannie just asked, how many hours a week do we have Arly doing her great work? And it is amazing work, as you can see. And it's only 20. It's only 20. But that's, Arly does great work in those 20 hours. But we're working on maybe shifting some things as is possible. But yes, so good question there. Do we have any other questions? Also, if Arly's email is in the chat, there is also in the chat, I shared the link to the sign up for the transition updates. And I'm sharing that link again right now so that you can sign up if you want those updates. You can send the link to your friends to sign up if they want those updates. I just wanted to make sure that we have that there. We're going to have emails coming out with information about a lot of stuff. And a lot of these details, as you might imagine, the last week has been a little bit like, okay, and now, there's that meeting happening. Quick, we've got to, so thank goodness for Bill and Tim and Donna and Carol and Dee. It's and of course Arly. Good Lord of mercy, thank goodness for Arly. And so that piece is well underway. But I just wanted to make sure we are not leaving.
So Caroline.
Yes,
my question is, so this all-call meeting and the format, I really endorse and think it's very helpful during this period of transition.
Mm-hmm.
When are you envisioning doing this again?
Well, we've talked about focusing on the first Tuesday of the month, which next month is July 1st, and that's Canada Day for all of you who are celebrating, like myself as a Canadian. But so that's it's July 4th week, so that's a little bit tricky. So there will be another all call to come in the weeks, but we are going to email that date out with the link and have that update. That's one of the pieces of information that will be forthcoming.
Good. Thank you.
Fun.
And Carolyn, big thanks to you for your expertise and putting your time in and so forth. If people knew how much you got on your plate and how big that plate was, but thanks for all that you've done and are doing.
Well, it is. I'm very grateful to get to work with the people that I'm working with on this.
I want to echo that. I could not have asked for a better consulting minister to help us out in our transition time. Thank you so much.
And Arly is clearly a subject matter expert, so we need say nothing else about that.
Right.
Everything. Mary, I saw your hand just now.
I'm just wondering too, I've heard, about even the gun violence prevention, that team leader has stepped down. So I'm just wondering how many team leaders have stepped down to this date.
2.
2?
Yeah.
Yep, it's just 2. And environmental justice hasn't had a leader for months and months and months.
Yeah. And Caroline, let me speak to Tom Buglio, who had been leading the gun violence awareness group for, you ready for this? I think it's 8 years. And he has been very effective as a leader of that group, and the group is doing well. And he is ready to move on and do some other things. So we had a conversation. He really wants to support all the work going forward, and he wants to take his energy, in other political things. And we endorse that, in terms of people coming in to provide leadership and then stepping out to do other things. So we gave him a big thank you. And as been discussed, the challenge is to find someone else to take his position.
So as long as there's no leader, there's no meeting. Is that right?
Well, that actually hasn't been the case. It's been so that's the thing. If there's been no leader, Arly really has still been running those meetings and making sure those teams meet. And that's what we're saying is it's a bit of a heavy lift for staff. So we're just kind of taking a break from that lift for the summer. Again, an email will come with all of those details because it is confusing. There are a lot of different teams and there are things in transition and all these parts moving all at once. It is confusing. If you're confused, Mary, I am too, honestly. We're all confused together. Judy.
Well,
I'm sorry, Mary. Sorry.
I was just going to say, maybe this is an age thing, but I can't capture the stuff that's in the chat. I cannot look at it. I don't know if there's a way that gets saved somewhere, but it'd be nice to have that, especially the emails and addresses and things like that, because I cannot capture that fast enough when it's in the chat room.
Yeah, well, and this is the other thing is that this meeting, like we've been reporting this again for transparency. So the plan is to send that information out. We can do that.
Hallelujah. Thank you.
And an amen.
Yeah.
Judy.
I'm just
concerned. I mean, I didn't know how many hours you had, Arly, and when I heard it's 20 hours, and it seems like everything leads to you in terms of what's happening right now. I'm concerned about that. Would it be better to give Arly more hours and not have an intern?
Well, the tricky thing is the grant money that we've been given is specifically for it. Like it is assigned to internships. Like we don't have a lot of flexibility on what we do with that. However, is part of the goal to make sure that Arly has support? Yes, is honestly the majority of what I'm doing. Just like, Arly, let me help you with this. Yes. I share your concern, Judy. Arly, have I not harassed you about not working more than 20 hours?
You absolutely have. And I do want to give one last shout out. Caroline has been really great in both helping to make sure that things get done and also just a brilliant mind behind just all this organizational stuff. So I think that is a big behind the scenes lift as well.
Mm-hmm. So Caroline, could you tell us again how long your contract goes?
And
what your aspirations are for?
I'm trying to put myself out of a job as quickly as possible, frankly. I absolutely, definitely no longer than August 1st, but I would love to be done before that. I would love to have everything organized and set up to go, and I'd love to be done. Not that I want to leave you guys, not that I want to stop doing the work, but because I just want everything to be organized, all the ducks in a row. And my kids are 5, 3, and 1. I'm so tired. So, yeah.
And she's sometimes in Europe, sometimes.
I'm also bivocational. I'm a flight attendant. I'm a flight attendant by night and minister by day. There's a lot going on. So, luckily, again, we're really very lucky in the people who are involved, and everything is it's all in progress. Honestly, given the wildness and the short notice and the twists and turns of the last 7 months, we're in an amazing position, frankly, given everything. So it's exciting. It's exciting. And then
I do want to give one last shout out. A lot of that is because of you guys. Is because
yes,
really care and are putting in work and are passionate about what they do. And that cannot be gone without saying. So also thank you guys for making us the organization that we are.
1000%. 1000%. Honestly, I don't think any of us could possibly top that as a closing note. But yes, we'll be emailing out information. At a minimum, Mary, I will find it and email it to you specifically, but I will be sending it out more broadly. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for coming, and go eat some dinner or get some rest or something.
Yep.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Very good. Bye. Caroline, would you stay on for just a second?
I was planning on it. Just go ahead.
Thanks, David.
uh,